Welcome back to Autoethnographic Radio. I'm your host, Angus Bailey, bringing you all the autoethnographic research for K-pop and J-pop. So far, you may have noticed we've looked at a lot of female and girl groups in this autoethnographic study, or just simply female performers. And now I want to take a look at boy groups and male performers and examine how K-pop and J-pop are constructing different alternatives to masculinities, particularly to masculinities that we might find in, say, an Australian context. So, just to give a reference point from where I'm coming from, as an Australian masculinity is constructed in a way that sees white, rugged, practical, heroic, dependable, but also laid back male figures valued as the sort of the pinnacle of masculinity and appeal. Now, I'm going to play two songs. One K-pop song by a group called EXO K, who sing a song called Mama. And later on, I've got another video by a J-rock performer. So in EXO K, masculinity is sort of described and interpreted and portrayed in a way that's quite different. It's sort of a mixture of what in an Australian context we would actually call sort of almost feminine or metrosexual, but there's also elements of traditional Australian maleness in there as well. So in Mama, in the film clip, we see 6 young men. They are young, of slight build, they're clean, good dancers, they're fit, and they also sport sort of trendy, moppy, fringy, spiky, sort of flashy haircuts, flashy metrosexual, cyber, futuristic clothes. And also sort of makeup and things as well. And we would think of these as more feminine qualities, I think, in a sort of an Australian social context. But also in the song and the film clip, we see sort of examples, particularly in facial expressions, we see a sort of male brooding sort of quality coming forth, as well as examples of male aggression even. And that sort of manifests itself as shouting, as well as primal characteristics in the aggressive dances. And I mean, even though they're nimble and good, they're also sort of interpreted in an aggressive manner. And also the film clip sees the men harnessing natural elements such as wind and fire and water. And yeah, obviously there's a supernatural element to that imagery, although you could argue that sort of harnessing of elements could be related back to Australian masculinity, which is again rugged and practical and dealing with natural elements and natural situations. And contrasted again with that is Yohio, he's actually a Swedish performer, but he's singing and engaging in a Japanese musical context and a Japanese genre, specifically called visual kai. And a visual kai is, from a musical standpoint, sounds quite punk and heavy metal, but visually it features a lot of elaborate makeup and costumes, and often couples that with a sort of androgynous appearance. So in this film clip, Sky Limit by Yohio, we see the young performer looks and dresses in a feminine manner, specifically like a sort of a Lolita character. And what's interesting about both these film clips, sort of combined, particularly Yohio though, it made me question quite a lot the establishment of a sort of a male-female gender binary situation. Made me realise how, even though I liberally am in favour of gender fluidity, there's still a lot of social conditioning that I've experienced that makes me sort of automatically, upon sight, put people into male and female gender binary, even though that's not, strictly speaking, a good thing to do. And arguably, this sort of visual kai sort of paints Japan in an interesting light in terms of a sort of a gender spectrum, and a fluid gender spectrum that encompasses more than just that binary male and female dynamic. And what's interesting about Yohio is, of course, that there's actually quite a lot of different elements at play. So obviously, there's an extremely feminine appearance that the performer takes on. And I think I can refer to him as a he because I believe he identifies as a male. I will use male pronouns for discussing him. But in spite of the appearance, the overtly feminine appearance that he takes on, he still sings quite clearly and unashamedly, not even trying to hide it at all, in a male register. So he uses a male voice. He's singing as a male performer, and also he sings in Japanese, which is sort of I suppose it's faithful to the genre in a way. Also, it's interesting because he is Swedish. He's singing in Japanese, and he's actually found himself accepted by the audience that engage in Japanese pop music. And this audience that accepts him can be found in both Japan and outside of Japan. So I know, for example, that the song I'm about to play to you, I first experienced watching SBS Pop Asia, which is an Australian television program dealing with Asian pop music. So it's interesting that Yohio is seen to be accepted into that Asian pop genre, even though strictly speaking he's not born and raised in that Japanese culture. So he's very much an outsider being welcomed into that culture by the community. I suppose that's interesting as well because it forces me to question what I consider to be the inherent qualities of various aspects of Asian pop, because obviously Korean pop and there's Japanese pop, and also there's Canto pop. And what's interesting is that it appears to be more than just nationality that lends these genres their qualities that we come to identify with as listeners. I think obviously language is a big part of it, because not only does the language engage with very particular groups within a global audience, but also language is in itself, when spoken, varies in terms of how it sounds across languages. So there's audio qualities to language as well. So here we're just going to play our last two songs of this autoethnographic study. We have EXO with Mama, and then Yohio with Sky Limit. Thank you for listening to this, and I hope I've given you a lot to think about and appreciate in Japanese and Korean pop music in its sort of various flavors and manifestations. So thank you again for listening, and have a nice day.